you have to remember that we live in Poland, and Poland, it was very anti-Semitic. And it was very, very difficult to find somebody who will help you, even among the friends. My parents, they have a friend, not Jews, but nobody came, you know, and give a hand to help. By coincidence, we found Socha.
Back in just a second. Dr. Mordecai Paldial is a Holocaust survivor and author of a book that was just given to me, I think 2 weeks ago by a friend. It is The Righteous Among the Nations. It is Rescuers of Jews During the Holocaust. It is amazing. There are 2 other books that I want you to look up. The Girl in the Green Sweater and Defying the Tide. These are stories of guests who are with us today. Also, Ruth Backner was hidden by nuns living in a convent, and Ruth is with us, and we're going to talk to her. And Mordecai. And Mordecai, you put together this book where you look, first of all, you're a survivor. You were snuck out in the middle of the night as a child. And your rescuers told you were, because you were in the woods, that keep looking up because you're looking for Tarzan, right?
Yes, because the fact that I was Jewish was kept secret from my parents while we were wandering from one place to another in France, in occupied France. And when things got very tough and we had to leave before the Germans caught up to us, and we came to that frontier area, and my mother was referred to that priest, Simon Gallet, and he organized our secret passage in Switzerland. And I asked my parents and these 2 Frenchmen who accompanied us, why are we walking in the middle of the night in a wooded area to nowhere? What's the purpose of this? It's bedtime. And they said, shh, it's a secret. But look up to the trees. We're taking you to meet Tarzan.
Wow. He's
going to jump out from one of the trees. And I was very excited by that.
When you started compiling The Righteous Among the Nations, did you find anything that brought all of them together? Did you see anything that was a common thread?
The only common thread that I could find among them, because we have a problem, these people come from different walks of life, different backgrounds. Some were more tolerant, some were less tolerant, some were hedonists and only minding their own business like Oskar Schindler. What happened? They were suddenly challenged. In front of them stood a Jew or several Jews, looking in their eyes, pleading to have an opportunity just to stay alive. All they wanted, I want to live. Someone had decided that they have no right to live. And so these people, there was this eye contact. And what happened at that moment was a transformation, just like what happened to Oskar Schindler. These Jewish workers of him, who made it possible for him to have such a good life. Suddenly, he learned that they were going to be taken away from him and destroyed. And something in him rebelled, and he said, well, that's not possible. They have a right to live. And therefore, I'm going to do whatever I can do. So there is that, I would say it's a mystery, that there is something in the human constitution which can cause you, just like Leopold Socha, who has also a very unpropitious background. He said, these people, I'm going to help as much as I can. And when you ask these righteous, and I had an opportunity to ask many of them, what caused you to risk your life? Because that's the thing, the question why there were not many others. The Germans threatened anyone who as much as dared to get involved in this with the death penalty. And they said, the answer that these righteous said, it was the most natural thing to do.
But I think what I'm trying to get across to you is, you don't want to get to that point, to where it's dangerous to have to make when this happens. Ruth, this was your father's?
Yes, my father's original star that we had to wear. I had to wear one. I would go to school with that star on and holding a book. And that's how I went to school. And then when the decree came in Belgium to say no Jews in school anymore, I couldn't go to school again. But you know something, I am here, and so were my parents and my brother, because of a righteous Gentile, because he saved our lives, okay? And he had maybe 100, 200 people working for him. And I say if he had 10 or 15 more, he would have saved more. Now, he put himself into jeopardy to do what he did, and I am so forever grateful. And I feel now is the time for us to do what he did for me, because the situation all over the world is terrible, and we have to help.
Back in just a minute. I want to tell you a quick abbreviated version of the story. It was June of 1940. The next guest's father had a choice to make, and he had to issue thousands of visas and make the decision, am I going to help Jews escape across the border into Spain and into Portugal so they have a chance to live, or not? His country said no. He said yes. Felipe Proper's father is a righteous among the nations honoree. Why did your dad do that? Because he lost everything, did he not?
He put his job on the line, and he taught us, my sister and I, to do the same thing when we grew up. Because he was a man who had values. He was a man who believed that those values had to be upheld. And he did it largely because he wouldn't have known how not to do it.
I said this morning on the radio that in the end, I want my children to say of me that I would not sit down and be quiet. I would do the right thing. And in the end, to me as a dad, that's what matters. Is that the lesson that you learned about your father? What was the most important lesson you learned from him?
I learned, first of all, the importance of having values, the importance of taking life from a long-term point of view and not from a quarterly point of view, the importance of holding to one's belief. My father in 1940 was only 45 years old, and I was 10, so I remember a little bit. And I remember very well when some German people came to the then office of the Spanish embassy in Bordeaux, where they fled because the government of France was in Bordeaux about to collapse. And he told those Germans, and I was quite amazed to hear it, he said, "You have not won this war, and you will win this war only when your troops will be marching in the streets of London." And everybody started laughing at that time because that would obviously never happen for those people who really believed in an Allied victory.
Back in just a second.
But it cost him his job.
I want to introduce you to two sisters, Sally and Miriam, who are here. Survived 12 out of 15. You survived in an attic together. Why did the person who hid you in an attic do it?
He went to find us, and when he found us, he tried to help us without getting more involved. But it was clear that we needed more help, and he was persuaded by my mother to have a good talk with his wife and that she would cooperate. And because she was very afraid, and she did not have the connection to my family that he did. He did it out of sheer attachment. He was bonded to my family, and he felt that he called us his Jews. And he had to do whatever he could for his Jews because they had done what they could for him when he was an orphan child. And so now he did his best, but he needed his wife's cooperation. She was not so enthused about the project. She told me it was very dangerous, which I knew. And my mother came up with a creative answer.
Go ahead.
She promised her all her jewels. And
did he take them?
oh, yes. They needed them. They were poor people.
Yeah.
How were they going to take care of 15 people without having some means?
Yeah.
Yes.
Reha, why did they save you? Why your family?
The person's was Maria Nickel, a housewife who was appalled at what was happening to Germany. And she had a very, very positive experience working for Jews. And she loved being with them. She made up her mind that she would try to help a Jew in need. She saw what was being done to the Jews in Berlin. And she looked, and she found my mother, Ruth.
She actually followed your mom. And didn't your mom turn around at one point and say, "What are you doing, lady? You're following me," right?
She was looking, and my mother, who looked very, very non-Jewish, very Aryan, or was heavily pregnant with me, going to and from work, and she spotted my mother, and this was very strange to her, the way my mother looked. And so she approached my mother after following her for several days. And she said she wanted to help, and my mother was petrified.
Back in just a second. For more on this subject, please go to glennbeck.com/Israel. Find out how you can get involved. Thank you to Yad Vashem for making this program possible. From New York, good night, America.